Jeff Ritzman.
Oh, Jeremy Vaney. Yeah, I remember you. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Welcome me back, won't you?
Welcome back, Jer.
Yes, thank you. I took a little hiatus to an island.
I know. Oh. I spoke to you on the phone.
Oh, that's right.
On the last episode, which was Whitley, so...
Oh, yeah. Do you remember hearing the ocean? Because that's what I was on. I was right on the ocean.
I added sound effect, but I guess I didn't need to.
Yes. I'll probably be talking all about this, maybe a little bit on Sunday, but definitely on the Good Parade with Tim Binnall, because there I can go into all the high hysterical details of the week. But I will throw this out there for Paratopia consumption. Swam with sharks.
Oh, yeah.
Shark swimming. That's what I did. And I don't mean like in some tank somewhere. I don't mean I dove into waters that I knew were full of sharks. I mean, there just happened to be sharks around. And you think that in a situation like that, you're going to crap yourself and die. But you don't, or at least I didn't.
Well, can I just point out that that's probably because you're in this field?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. When I think about, like, swimming with sharks, I think, oh my God, manic, flailing and all that sort of stuff. But when you're actually, like, face to face with a shark, what happens is you go, oh, this is a chess match. And the only move I have are my wits about me. That's all I've got. And the fact that this thing hasn't bitten me. So I'm going to use those two things to my advantage and somehow get out of this.
And then you realized you had a small cut on your chin from shaving.
And then suddenly you see more sharks.
and you hear one of them exclaim, "Chum!"
God, I'm so sick of eating fish. Ah, yes.
Did you have the idea that your family really didn't want you around when they threw that bucket of fish guts on you as you were climbing out? I'm just wondering.
I thought it was weird that no one else jumped in with me. Anywho, so this week's guest is I want to say one Rachel Baker, but she has changed her last name to Weinrich.
Right.
And we'll find out. Well, again, I want to say we'll find out why during the show, but I guess we won't find out why.
This is not a show of answers.
No.
In fact, this isn't even a show.
This is a conversation.
This is just talking and me trying to verbalize what I can't. Thank you.
This is Tangent Man meets questions. Well, this is a follow-up. We've had Rachel on twice before, and we'd mentioned that we wanted to follow up with her in that recap episode we did. And sure enough, on Facebook, she put it out there that she had quite a bit to follow up on.
Yeah.
So no better time than the present, and we jumped on it. And thankfully, she was game. So, yeah, the conversation is extremely loose and informal. It's not, I wouldn't really call this an interview so much. But, I mean, it is about her personal awakening and her personal sort of struggle to understand who she is in this crazy universe and, if the universe is speaking to her and in what way and all of that, which we can all certainly relate to. So I think it's interesting and it's human. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's a human show,
Yeah. And she's always great because she was in the paranormal and then, at this point has decided she's kind of not. And we had Jamie Fritzy, who I think kind of went out and came back, and we kind of wanted to have the two of them on the same show to kind of talk about what they'd done outside of paranormal fields and why they left and then why one returned. And of course, Rachel is getting even further out than when last we spoke with her. So we're going to get into all of that as well.
All right. So what were you saying?
I was done.
Oh.
I finished my thought. I was throwing it over to you so we could get going.
Yes.
Come on, island boy.
Did I mention I swam with sharks?
Yes.
Anywho, It was like the Laugh Olympics. There was a giant nurse shark in a car. No, it was nothing like that. Never mind. Snedley was there. Snedley wasn't there. Still lying.
What are we doing?
I don't know. Rachel Weinrich, everybody.
If you record audio for any purpose, chances are you want it to be heard. You want to attract the largest audience possible who can hear your message. That's where we come in. We're cyberears.com, a revolutionary internet service that will host your audio files and help you promote and track its popularity. Considering hosting a podcast to the world? We have all the automated tools to make the process as simple and easy as it can be. No technical mumbo-jumbo to work out. CyberEars.com does all the work for you. You record it, we take care of the rest. So don't delay. Go to CyberEars.com today and register for a free trial account. Upload your audio files and get heard. With CyberEars.com, it's your audio on your terms.
Urgency is thrilling and ardently intelligent and graceful work. Mitch Horowitz, author of Occult America, The Secret History of How Mysticism Shaped Our Nation. The ending was powerful and smack on. Colin Andrews, internationally acclaimed author / human consciousness researcher. Jeremy writes a mean book filled with subtle humor and flashes of deep insight into who we are and what we're really capable of. A must-read for any serious truth seeker. Deb Cobble, author of Abducted, completely blows everything you think is true out of the water. I urge you to get this book because it's got a lot of power. It is a deeply interesting and deeply funny book. Whitley Strieber, author of The Key and Communion.
Urgency by Jeremy Vaeni. It might be the most important book you read all year.
It will be the most fascinating. In stores in paperback, on the Kindle, and on the Nook, now available.
So anyway, Rachel is now out of MRIPA. She is flying solo in her, I don't know, what, spiritual endeavors?
Yeah.
Although she mentions this friend that she has from India who seems sort of guru-like in some sort of way, and I have a feeling that will be evolving more in her story the next time we get an update from her.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. I guess I won't say too much here because we'll although the show goes pretty much the full 2 hours, I guess we'll have to do an after chat type thing on Sunday's live show. But I find it interesting in this interview, I'll just say it here, that she talks about these new sorts of tangents she's looking into, such as reincarnation. I wonder if she isn't someone who's getting away from religion and going into more free-form stuff, and in that free-form paranormal spiritual milieu, trying to form other definitions, because that's just what the brain wants to do. It wants to jump to things and go, okay, this is reality. That wasn't reality. I know that wasn't reality, but maybe there's something over here, and try to form its own sense of what's going on, and once again, creating a known out of the unknown. But it seems like her heart is bigger than that thought process, and so it probably won't stick either if that's what she's doing. Yeah. It won't stick either, and she'll end up, as well she should, a free-floating agent in this sea of ice.
Wow, that's pretty poetic. She also mentions automatic writing a few times in there as well, so that's somewhere else she's poking around. So, yeah, as I said, this is not a show of answers, so don't be searching for that. Not around these parts, no.
Very good. Well, let's get into it then with Rachel Weinrich, formerly known as Rachel Baker. Paratopia, please welcome back our very special three-peat guest. Do I have to pay anyone if I say three-peat? Is that a copyright word?
I don't think so.
Okay, perfect. Our three-peat guest, Rachel Weinrich, the artist formerly known as Rachel Baker. Rachel, thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me a third time.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because we did our year-end recap show, and of course, when we went back over your 2 episodes, we were like, wow, that's right, we've got to get Rachel back on because we said we'd like to check up with her periodically because we considered your episodes to be somewhat pivotal in a sense. And then Jeff showed me where you had, I guess, stepped down from MRIPA and have a whole bunch of changes going on in your life. So let's, I guess, get into some of that and see what we can make sense of here. I guess first, well, should we start there? Why are you stepping down from MRIPA?
Well, this is, again, one of those, loaded answers. There's a lot behind the scenes, and one of the things is that our group, it's a great group, but I just don't feel the desire to really do it anymore. I'm still a part of the team. That is if they need me and where I can be of service, but I'm not going to have, of course, case manager duties. It goes along with what I talked about in July. I'm being drawn elsewhere, and I have even more reason to do it now. So if anyone is interested, they can just go recap on the show I was on for the second time around, and that will give them a little bit more insight, of course, and, no shameless promotion for you guys whatsoever. But there's a lot of things just going on, and I'm having more people that I'm randomly meeting that are having the same experiences that I was going through around the May, June time. And by the time I talked to you guys in July, I was like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons for why I'm doing it, and I really am feeling it is the right thing to do. And I would actually do me a disservice if I didn't follow that.
Well, it's interesting in two ways for me hearing this, because one is, as we'd said in the recap show, it really seemed to be a year of people in ghost research getting fed up with ghost research and getting fed up with other ghost researchers. It seemed to be that all the way around from the people that we interviewed. Whereas it wasn't really that, I don't think, the year before. I mean, it seems like there's always been this sort of excitement about ghost research, within their own community. And now it's just sort of like, seems to be this collective from everybody in the same way that we've experienced in UFO world. But then the other thing that's interesting is well, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people I know, myself included, have felt some intangible thing calling to them in various ways that completely shakes up their lives, all within the span of the past few months. So maybe that's where we want to go with this. I mean, what is it that you are being called to?
Okay, well, how long do we have?
As long as you need.
Thank you. This is going to be kind of a hard place to start. So I need to start in small steps. So again, a lot of the stuff was just happening around the time for me again in May of this last year, actually now 2011. And I had to be very selective of who I told to in great detail, because either they can be like, totally understand, or, you're absolutely nuts. And right now it's kind of like things that have transpired, even within the last couple of months. One of the first things that I need to do that I'm being called to is to kind of, and this is going to be kind of a weird way to start this, but there's a person I need to contact and to kind of clear up some misunderstandings. And this person, and now believe me, this is part of the little messages I've been getting from numerous people that have come up to me saying they've been experiencing the same thing. And when I don't talk about it, there's a reason for it. But when you have 4 people that don't know any of the business that say, just contact this person, it kind of captures my attention.
Right.
And I know exactly who the person is, and I feel like there needs to be some misunderstandings cleared up. And this is that start of where I'm getting drawn, is clearing all the bad feelings I have that are weighing me down. It's bothered me for the past 5.5, 6 months. And I just need to suck it up and basically say, hey, risk the chance of sending them a message and having them, 1, reject it outright, not even respond, 2, chew me out, or 3, say, you know what, I'm glad you contacted me. Let's work things out. So that is number 1 that I need to do. And in a way, I kind of hope they hear this show, so then they know that that's exactly who I'm talking about. 2, I've had 3 people this past weekend bring up this person's name out of the blue for no reason. And I've not heard anything about them. for a while. And the 3 people, for some reason, I guess, said, I just felt like contacting them. Great. But and 2 of them said, I brought you up. Why? Well, I just felt like, you've been down about stuff that it wouldn't hurt. I'm like, well, I would have contacted them sooner if you didn't say anything, but now I'm going to wait a while, so it doesn't look like I was putting them up to it. To me, that's just fine. Like, I need to clear some, again, misunderstandings. Number 3, there's just a lot of crap out there, guys, that's going on, and I met a young lady named Sonal that she's been such a gift in this whole journey of mine because, again, I don't talk about a lot of the stuff I couldn't talk about on the show with you guys, and I still can't because I don't have any proof to back it up, which is why I just decided to say, I'll give you what I can, but there's a cutoff point. So this girl I met at the beginning of December was starting to talk about the same things I've been experiencing, and I thought I was the only one. And so it was dreams she's been having, thoughts, experiences, waking up to hearing like voices talking to her. People that don't know better would probably say, okay, psychotic, paranoid, schizophrenic, whatever. But I talked to her and said, my God, that's exactly the same stuff that's happened to me. So we've kind of been throwing stuff back and forth, just trying to say, okay, what's really going on? But it's the feel of there's a draw pulling us somewhere else, and we don't know what it is. And that keeps us very high on the anxiety list, if you will, because we don't know what it is.
Well, drawing you somewhere physically, like a location?
Location maybe, or just kind of like that waiting, like, okay, we're ready for whatever it is. And that's the best way I can describe it is you're standing on the side of a cliff, waiting. It's a better way. You jump off the side of the cliff, and you're anticipating of when do I pull the cord for my parachute, okay? And when the time is right, that's when you pull that parachute so you can float back down to the bottom safely. That's the best description I can say. So right now we're free falling, not yet ready to pull that flipping cord to the parachute.
Right.
That's the best way to describe it.
Well, it's interesting because I guess what was it, Jeff? September, where I woke up one fine day and just knew that I had to get to the Big Island in Hawaii. I'm living in New York, and I'm like, you have to go, just go. My lease was up at the beginning of October, and I was going to try to head out there in November, but then my sister sprang the surprise on us that she was getting married in January. In fact, I just got back from her getting married in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. So my mom said, well, instead of going to Hawaii, why don't you stay with me in Massachusetts, go to your sister's wedding in St. Croix, and then go to Hawaii. So essentially that's what I'm going to do. And it turns out that I have one friend who used to live there for 9 years, who at the exact same, week, essentially, that I needed to go, got the same feeling. She's got to go back. And then a third friend, actually Susan Kornacki, friend of the show, has the same sort of, I've got to go to the Big Island. I don't know why. I have to move there. So I find this fascinating. So do you have any urge to go to the Big Island by any chance?
Dude, anywhere to get out of Indiana right now and go somewhere tropical, yes. But I can't say that because
I don't think that
the
counts.
Bigger call. It's just because I want to get out of Indiana and go somewhere warm right now. Yeah, why? But then the question is, what is calling them there? And that's the ultimate question, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
no one knows, and then it's the same thing. Like you guys are saying, so why are you doing this? Whoever's moving out there would be like, I don't know. I just feel the urge to move out there. It's almost like we can call it preparation, but preparation for what? Nobody knows.
Well, I don't know, and I don't even know if it's ultimately that drastic in that sense.
Okay.
Like the end. I don't know that this is the ending of Lost, is what I'm saying. I don't. It could just be some internal thing. It could be a set of coincidences. I don't know. I remain open to all possibilities. It could, also just
be that the mainland is full of shit, And the best option is to get the frick out and go to an island that's not part of the mainland. Thank you.
Yes, well.
That too.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Or it could be that I'm middle-aged and it's like time to start the rest of your life, and here's how. Here's where you go. I mean, it could just be simple as that. I don't know. But I have had some little, experiences that have suggested to me that there is something wicked this way comes that I don't want to be here for. So maybe it's also that. I don't know. But I find it interesting. And I have other friends who are not into the paranormal at all, who have also had huge, drastic life changes, even as in the past just few weeks. I mean, essentially along the same lines that are just completely life-altering. Like, I ain't going to take this anymore. Getting out of bad marriages, whatever it is, all of this sort of stuff. So, I don't know what to make of all this. Am I making something out of nothing? Are there patterns here or not? I guess time will tell. But in terms of you, your thing is specifically spiritual, right? You feel?
To me, that's how I feel. And again, the stance I take, because unless you're me or even my friend Sonal, it's almost like it came at the right time, because I was about to say, you know what, just, put me in a straitjacket, take me to the padded room, I'm ready. Because it's just like, that's how I felt like, okay, not that I'm going crazy and I'm like sitting back, rocking back and forth while I'm at work. No, I function fully fine. It's that nagging feeling of something is greater, and that we're all part of something bigger, right? And so I am starting, well, I shouldn't say starting, because I was doing it the last time I talked to you guys. I've always been a feeler, okay, and but not a thinker. My heart is almost like the brain of how I function. My heart works first, and then my brain decides to kick in later. And it's like just little things. And again, I know I'm not going to say this right, but just watching news. I hate watching the news, even though someone would say, you know what, maybe that's why you're in Lululand all the time or whatever it be. But I'm like, no, it's not that I'm in Lululand. I'm a smart girl. I get it. It's just I'm getting sick of the bull crap in the world. And if people can't look at it's all about money, power, people say that's how the world turns. And I say, well, I'm going to call your bluff, because someone else is making us think this, it's kind of like it's always power. And after a while, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to deal with the crap in the world. I've got my own stuff to deal with right now. Turn the TV off. But I am very aware of what's going on, but I'm very aware of what's going on where I live, because I see it every day when my patients walk into my office. So it's just kind of like I always start with, okay, take God. All right, God. Sorry, guys, forgive me, for the God that a lot of Christians follow, one of the hardest things I've been struggling with is this. If it's such a great God, then why do you let bad things happen to good people? And then the bad people seem to get away with a lot of things. I mean, I start doing that kind of thinking, and I'm like, I don't buy it. And that's how I started heel spinning off, saying, okay, this doesn't feel right to me, so let me think about this more. That's how I've been kind of progressing, maybe even since I was 25. And the first day that I realized that I really, really didn't believe what I was brought up to believe is when I couldn't even defend my own belief or religion.
So where has that brought you then in yourself?
That I believe that some is facts, but I think it's is it correct to say it's mixed in with a lot of disinformation?
Right. Let's. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess how people also, it's also based on how people interpret something. So the interpretation from someone might not really be the correct version. Right.
Well, yeah, and then of course, in terms of just Christian religion, then you get into which version of the Bible and all that. Mm-hmm. What are we even reading at that point? But let's scratch the record here and back up for 1 second, because
sure.
I'm sure we'll get flack if we don't.
Guys, I do fly high in the stars, so if you need to tether me down once in a while, please do so, because it's good for me to stay grounded sometimes, too.
No, that's fine. You'd said that you heard voices. Are these individual voices you hear waking up, or is it like a cacophonous sort of bunch of, conversations all happening? What type of thing are we talking about?
No. Okay, that's where I went. Yeah, not those type of voices, guys. It's like, Sonal can do automatic writing very well. And whenever people say that they do that, or if they are a medium or they're psychic, I test them to the end. I do not believe them when they first tell me that, because I'm like, bull crap. I know enough mediums and psychics out there that are full of crap. But then you got those that make you go, wait a minute. There is no way in Sam hell you should have known that at all. And when they get into more specific details that no one should ever know, then you have to step back and say, holy crap. Now, Sonal, sweetheart, she said, I started having like these thoughts, and she still hasn't described it very well to me. She says, I was so afraid to see them, I asked them to just please put your messages through writing, and that's what she does. And so when she started talking about certain things, again, I can't go into it because, one, I really don't want to go into it because I don't have backup to prove anything yet. These are all just feelings and thoughts. When I get stuff, it comes with, I call it flash visions. I'll get a picture for no reason, and I'll draw it out. That's how I've been dealing with what I've been getting. And then she'll look at that and be like, okay, this either means nothing to me, or wait a minute, I'm getting something. And she'll write the 2-page paper without looking at the paper of what I drew. So it's kind of like, could we be tag teaming? Yeah, sure, why not? But that's not how it feels to us. We're just kind of like, okay, let's make sense of what we're dealing with here. And if it's cockamamie to somebody else, so be it. But right now, it's just kind of like, it doesn't hurt to kind of try to understand. I believe that dreams give us messages. Jason, he does a lot of dream interpretation. But the dreams I've been getting have just been so far-fetched, but not actual voices. The only time it's ever happened was I woke up to what, and I said it in the last show, guys. I woke up, I think it was like April or May, to a woman clearly saying, as if she was standing next to me, June 4th. Now, I thought it was maybe June 4th of 2011, but, you know, we had our show premiere that night, and I think it went very well. And, you know, it was Amber's and Jason's birthdays, but that was it. But was it June 4th, 2011, or is it June 4th of 2020? I mean, again, it could have been nothing. And then the second time was waking up with what sounded like a bunch of marbled mess in my head, but I didn't move until it stopped. And the thing is, one thing I've learned is if it continues to happen all the time, then there's something that's describing it. If it happens once or twice but never again, it's kind of like, to me, that is something to sit back and say, okay, something special. But it's, you know, it's all internal in my heart. And I'm not going to say you guys are going to be like, yeah, Rachel, you're so cool, this is all happening to you. You're probably like, I don't know. I'm still got my, you know, I'll still stand back and, you know, try to feel this chick out and see what's really going on in her head. But I'm used to that. And I've always been told I fly high. I'm a girl of the stars, you know. I will go up there and keep going up there, but I do need people to sometimes bring me back down.
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, it's funny because it sounds like your reference point for hearing voices is someone is either crazy or psychic, and I think that there can be a range of things, you know, and it's hard to know what it is. I mean, even somebody had even brought up, this sounds silly, but it's true, you know, eating cheese at night can cause some sort of, you know, sleep disturbances and things like that. So have you noticed?
I tell my patients that all the time.
Well, did you have any sort of change in your diet, or even on those nights, any sort of change in your diet?
Because of my health condition, guys, I have type 1 diabetes. I've had that since I was 13, and I am like a guru with it. I don't play around with it. I always give myself at least 4 hours before I get to bed when I stop eating.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is known fact that if you eat right before you go to bed, one, you can get acid reflux, or two, you can have weird dreams. And I've asked my patients many times, because it's like, I don't sleep very well. Well, you're eating right when you go to bed, or you're eating in bed, like a full fried chicken, mashed potatoes dinner in your bed. Yeah, I can see why you're probably not sleeping well, and they always tell me about bizarre dreams. But, I mean, there's so many factors. So you hit it on the point. That's why I I can't really vouch for anything. It's just all internal feelings for me, and those are important.
Yeah.
So I chose to go explore.
Well, this is the other thing. I mean, it still happens with me now and then, but really, you know, I think I've told you about this weird energy thing in me or whatever, you know, maybe it's Kundalini energy. But when this thing started first activating, I went through these sorts of rounds or bouts of various sort of, let's call them psychic awakenings, for lack of a better term, one of which was voices, which would be, I mean, it just sounded like people in a large sort of cavernous restaurant or something having conversations over each other. It was just a jumbled mess, like you said, a jumbled mess of, but it was a lot of people. And I couldn't pick out any one thing that was being said. It was just conversations going on all at once. And that would happen fairly regularly for about a month or so. So there again is another thing that could be happening, is some sort of, you know, internal awakening. Things get turned on, things get dusted off that haven't been used,
people,
you know.
If you've heard the term downloaded before.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I've been hearing that word a lot more too, downloaded. And one of the things that I've been hearing from people having similar experiences to me is they're getting the thought of, like, some of the weird, like, one of the dreams I had this week was just ridiculous. It was stupid. And the reference points in my dream were, I don't know why the characters from Hellraiser was in the same dream as one of my patients asking me to watch her grandson. But yet, if you've seen The Darkest Hour, where these things disintegrate people like a bolt of electricity, that was going on in my dream too. It made no flipping sense. So when I woke up, I'm like, well, that was really stupid. But guys, I don't dream much. I don't. At least I don't remember them if I do. And so I was just talking about, like, how bizarre the dream was, again, to Sonal. And she says, you know, have you ever heard the term downloading? She said, well, okay. And she starts writing in her pad. And she says, we have a sense of humor too. I'm like, well, who has a sense of humor? Well, the guys that she's talking to. And so Sonal's from India, and they're very spiritual people, very spiritual. And I mean, when you're in her presence, you're just kind of like, wow. You know, because when I first met her, I felt very comfortable with her. It was just kind of like, that's also my bullcrap filter. Is that if I walk in with you, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm pretty good with giving first impressions. All I feel is just, this is a really nice person. But again, with you, I mean, maybe it is an internal awakening. I'm open to endless possibilities.
Well, downloading, I have had that happen to me once, and it was a completely different thing. I don't know if it's the same for everybody. I mean, obviously I can't vouch for that, but you would know it. You would know it when it happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's a visual. It's there's a physiological feeling that goes with it. You know, a pressure in the head and the body. And yep. You know, in my case, I actually saw reams of documents being, for lack of a better term, downloaded into me. And then I'd emailed or called, I guess, Nancy Burns at UFO Magazine, because I was, you know, we were really friendly. Well, and she was like, have you read any Philip K. Dick? No, I hadn't. And then I went and read, you know, a biography on Philip K. Dick, and same thing had happened to him, except that he was on drugs. So, you know, factor that in too. In fact, let's factor that in, because you had said that you were on medication, right? Or you have a condition. Are you on medication for this condition?
Unless you count, well, insulin's medication, but that's the only medication I'm on, is insulin.
And what sort of side effects are associated?
Low blood sugar.
Oh, so it's not like you may hallucinate. Yeah. It's not like Lipitor or something where it's like you may die.
But the one thing about insulin, guys, it's like the ultimate, like, murder weapon. I'm just playing around, guys, just being stupid, but it leaves no trace behind. No, there's no side effects, but just like if you don't get enough, you have a high blood sugar, and then, of course, I have the side effects of high blood sugar, and then if you get too much, you get low blood sugar, then you got the side effects of that, but no hallucinations.
Okay. So it sounds like if I'm piecing this together correctly, you've been having this sort of, let's call it a spiritual awakening. You've had this personal spiritual awakening, and you're shy to talk about it because you're somebody who knows the importance of logic, facts, having that material thing that you can go, look, this is proof. Because that's the country we live in. But now you've got this friend from India who is spiritual and open to all of this stuff. And would you say that she is reinterpreting what's happening to you? I mean, is she like a guru character to you, or is she just a friend that you go to and talk to about this stuff?
She calls me her soul sister, which I thought was sweet in itself, because one of the things we practiced was, okay, she says, well, can you envision my guides? And I'm like, I can try and see what I get, because I'll get random, when I say flash visions, I don't even like calling them voices. Maybe that's not the best term for me. It's, again, I get flash visions, random thoughts that pop in my head, and I'll write them down. Or I drew a picture of what I saw when she asked about, can you see what my guides look like? I'm like, okay, I can always try. This should be fun. So I drew a picture. And she drew one too without looking at mine. We did it at the same time. And then when I showed her, and she showed me hers, it was quite similar. I mean, very freakily similar. And I'm like, interesting. So all they looked was like, the best thing I can describe is I wasn't a big Stargate Atlantis, watcher, but Jason did show me what I was talking about. I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I saw, if not very, very close. And they just look like wisps of white light. That's all they look like. And I said, that's all I'm saying, but that's what she drew in her paper. Now, coincidence? Maybe, but I don't believe in coincidence.
Wait, these wisps of white light are what?
Well, I don't know what they are, but that's just what I saw. I don't get like a voice saying, hey, there are, angels, going up to heaven. It's nothing like that. I only get a flash vision real quick, and then I'll draw it down, and sometimes I'll get confirmation, such as she gets the same thing and draws it down, but without looking at each other's work, and then we'll swap to show what the other one got. And it's just kind of like, maybe something is going on. I don't look at her as a guru at all. I look at her as gifted.
Is she as amazed by this stuff as you, or does she seem nonchalant about it?
No, she's just as amazed, because when I first met her, I have been working closely with another gentleman that's also from India that used to be a millionaire, but he chose to follow his higher path, which is similar to what I'm doing now. So he dropped everything. He now lives in this little apartment in Indianapolis, and he calls me as one of his students. So he's been, working with me a little bit, just trying to fine tune like what I'm really feeling, distinguishing between, if it's me doing this, or if it's desire doing this, or if it's actually I'm getting factual information. And he tests us. But when I first met Sonal, she was in tears saying, I don't know what I'm getting here. And so Dave said, why don't you tell Rachel what you're getting? And she told me, and I just kind of was like, I'm sorry, Dave, did you tell her anything that I told you? He's like, I just started working with Sonal recently. So it was like she was confused just as I was.
How is Jason with all of this?
He's okay. He's okay. I mean, he's supportive in his own way.
Are you still together?
We're yeah.
Okay. So why did you change your last name?
I just felt like I needed to keep my last name.
Huh.
And I talked to him about it before, and he wasn't happy with that. But I said, I just kind of feel that I would like to keep my last name. I said I have my reasons for it that I don't feel like I need to get into.
Which are what? Let's get into them now. You can talk to us. You can't talk to Jason, but you can totally talk to us.
No, I can't. So
Jesus.
that kind of stuff I like to do.
Always one step over the line, Janie is always
kidding.
one step over.
So yeah, I mean, I even mentioned that again tonight while I was making dinner. So, but I mean, I've got my reasons.
Okay.
Well, can I ask, is Jason still steeped in the paranormal ghost venture thing?
Yes. He's still the founder of the group. He's making some changes in that he is going to be more of, I guess you can say, a consultant, if you will. But
Okay.
sometimes I don't really think he's grasping what I'm saying when I'm saying I'm stepping down from being case manager.
Okay.
I will help where I can, but I don't have an interest in it anymore.
Okay.
And my reasoning, which I was trying to tell him, was one, I believe in ghosts. Sure, I believe in spirits, most definitely. I believe in life outside the planet. Sure, I'll believe in Bigfoot. Yeah, I know there's a lot of things out there that, we don't fully understand. So I don't really need to search for them anymore. And
Right.
the other thing is like, I really want to help people, but I don't feel like we're really helping people when we're going out to look for investigations. Because if someone really wants our help, they will contact us. So I don't feel like we need to go out looking for places to investigate, yet alone pay someone to investigate. I don't know, hence Mansfield or what's the big place? I'm sorry, in Kentucky. I just totally had a brain fart. But I just don't feel that we're not helping them. We're just giving money to a group to keep this, fascination of investigating. Now, if you get stuff there, great. Awesome. I'm not bad-mouthing it. It's just not for me anymore.
Do you think the whole commercialization of it is part of what turned you off?
Absolutely. I also don't like the pettiness that I see amongst groups. I don't like for me, I'll walk up to someone and say, hey, I'm Rachel. I'm with, the group MRIPA. I'm the case manager, not anymore, but I'm the case manager. Just always very open and friendly. And they will give you a look of like, so, and they're like, really? I'm not in competition with you. To me, I'm looking at like, we're all doing this together. But everyone else is like, you're not in our group, therefore we don't talk to you. That is a big turnoff to me. But the ultimate one is what I'm going through now. I feel that's more important to me. Number two, I don't feel like we're really helping people.
Right.
The only time I ever felt like we were helping people is when we went up to South Bend and we didn't do an investigation. We sat down and talked to the family and gave them the empowerment to take care of the matter in their own hands.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so that's just how I feel.
I mean, I guess when you start asking all the ontological questions, that this stuff seems kind of trivial in comparison. When you start asking about the nature of reality and what it means to be, and all of that, and then as far as I wanted to go back to what you said about religion. I guess this comes up. I guess more than on most paranormal shows, I guess, because I think in one sense, and I can say this without Jeremy getting pissed off at me, in the sense that I do believe there's a God, and Jeremy believes something else, and that we are God, and that we are and but my outlook on God was radically changed a number of years ago, to having nothing to do with the paranormal at all. Do you feel that the paranormal influence, or the influence of I don't even know if I want to call it influence, but the current things that you're starting to become aware of, or the current things that are starting to possibly interact with you, do you think that has had a bearing on how you view a higher God?
No, because this started changing before I even got into the paranormal.
Okay. Have you always questioned that?
It's okay. It's kind of hard to answer with just a yes or no, so I'm going to do my best. So I went to a Lutheran high school. I went to Carroll High School my freshman year, which was a public school, and then I went to Concordia Lutheran High School. In Carroll, I left because I kind of got sick of the drama that was going on there. But unfortunately, when I moved to Concordia Lutheran, now you're at a Christian school, there was more drama there. And what I noticed was like all these people like, yay, God, praise you, blah, 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 and they would quote Bible verses at you, and you're just like, really? But I was just kind of like, okay, but I never got into it. I never got excited about it. And then, of course, we would go to church every Sunday, and I found myself trying to make excuses of why I couldn't go. Like, I'm sick for the 4th Sunday in a row.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like that kind of thing. But it's not like I was like, not to be blasphemous, but screw you, God. It wasn't like that ever for me. I believe in God. I believe in a God. I believe in what I call the ultimate creator, some people call them the universal consciousness. Like, if you look at it, we are made from him, her, it, whatever you want to call them, or God.
Right.
Because I always, again, start like if you think of the pyramid, with the fine point being the very first thing that ever existed, and then everything that exists right now is at the base of the pyramid. It's kind of like something doesn't come from nothing, and this is how my brain operates. So therefore, something had to create everything that you see, have it be, all the stars and planets out there, whatever other life is out there. And so that's how I always start small, but I reach very far. And I've come to the conclusion that, yeah, there is definitely a creator, but I think there's so much to that being, if you will, than what we were taught in the Bible.
Yeah. Well, that's the complexity of that, is that the Bible, and I would say any religion that you could pick would pale in comparison to what that means and to what that's addressing. Recently I came across a guy on YouTube named John Shelby Spong, I think his name is. Mm-hmm. And he was I believe a priest. And, he apparently did an interview with ABC or NBC or one of these news stations and was asked about hell and that sort of thing. And he was very matter of fact about it. He said, this is an invention of man. Every religion that you can think of was nothing more than a control mechanism to make people behave themselves, or to make them bend to the will of a certain person or what have you. And while in some ways, I guess religion as a whole has started to loosen up, quote unquote, loosen up, mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that that's altogether true, and that it's still the same words. It's just put in a different, more palatable way to the modern age. That has always been a thing for me that I've questioned. My mom, I think I mentioned this on the last show, that she has started to loosen up a little bit in how she perceived things. But I sent her this video of John Shelby Spong, and I said, this is a guy who's kind of getting what I'm saying, and seems to be on the same wavelength that I'm thinking. And when she wrote back to me, she says, I can't follow this. And so, I don't even know how that applies to what you're dealing with or what you're going through as far as the bigger questions that you're asking.
Sure. This is maybe a silly example, but it's something I noticed this past December 26th, and my parents and my sister and her husband came to visit us in Indianapolis. I always say things are changing. Even when it comes to, personal relationships and things like that, things are definitely changing, all around. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that it has to do with what I'm going to describe to you guys, but my dad, I'm not going to say his full name, but it's last name Weinrich, okay? So people, if they even know what I'm talking about, can always type in his name on Google search, and my dad's name will pop up all over the flipping internet, just because of the books he writes. He was a professor at the seminary up in Fort Wayne, also was at the Academic Dean for a while. And when the whole 9/11 thing happened, and they did the universal prayer at Yankee Stadium, I guess there was a Lutheran pastor that, now I can be maybe explaining this wrong, but my understanding was there was a Lutheran pastor there that prayed with all types of people from all religions. And of course, some of those religions weren't even Christian based. To me, I was like, that's awesome, because did it take something so awful to happen for people to actually be okay and get together in a peaceful prayer, if you will?
And the answer to that is yes.
Okay, wishful for the best thing. So I thought that was a great thing. But my dad was put on a committee to reprimand this pastor for praying with other types of religions because they weren't Lutheran and they weren't Christian.
Right.
And my dad was in such turmoil because I think this was his wake-up call back then. He was like, how can you, he goes, basically was like, get over yourselves, guys. This was not it affected the country. And the country is not just made up of Lutherans. It's made up of all types of people and beliefs.
Right.
This was something called a universal prayer. It wasn't a Lutheran prayer.
Right.
And so he was made to make a decision against this pastor. And he was torn up over it because he's like, I got so much crap from colleagues and higher ups that he says I should have just followed my gut and said, screw it, I'm out. But he didn't. And he still regrets it to this day. And so there was all these like mean emails back and forth that were posted on the internet between this guy and my father. And my father was like, I'm so sorry, whatever, but it never mended itself. And so when I first got into the paranormal stuff, my dad was starting to question me, like, what's going on? My dad, I love my father, I do, but we're not close. And I'm definitely not close with my mom. And there's reasons for it, but even though I will talk to her and respect her for numerous reasons, she's my mom, number one. But he always called me his, sorry guys, this is kind of mushy. He always called me his tender heart bear because, again, I think with my heart, and I'm an emotional person. I feel. I don't think first. I feel first. And that's just who makes up Rachel Weinrich. It's just how I've always been. Mm-hmm. And people can call me weak, but no, it actually makes me strong. And so when he came here on the 26th with everyone, I saw him I caught his eye, and he was looking at me in this really, I don't want to say daydreaming because it sounds kind of gross because it's my dad, but in like this all look, and he just said out of the blue, he goes, you truly are Rachel. And I said, okay, Dad, what do you mean? He says, I finally have come to know who my daughter really is. Nice. And he smiled at me, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And that meant a lot to me.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that it has to be so divisive. Yeah. All of these religious beliefs and the politics that go with them, in which there shouldn't be any in it, but there is, and we all know that. But there's got to be a genesis for this, and I know we tried to kind of arrive at this the last time you were on, but there's got to have been a point, and if this is a point you don't want to talk about, just say so, and we're off of it. But for me, there was a decisive point when I was 17 years old where I said, something is wrong with this world. And it's not about politics, and it's not about money, and it's not about work and career and all of it. It's like, it's not about that. This is not what we're here for. We're here for something else. And ever since I was 17, I've been trying to figure out exactly what that is. And I think by and large, some of the paranormal stuff that's been associated with me has been part and parcel to leading me through that, to arrive at something. I have no idea where it's going to arrive at, but something is wrong. It's more than greed. It's more than the lust for power. It's more than people starving and other people, drinking Cristal in Las Vegas. It's more than absurdly, like professional sports. I don't have any qualms saying that I work in an industry where I'm closely associated with professional sports, and I hate pro sports. Not because I dislike a game, but I dislike everything that surrounds it. The greed and the almost the cult-like. I mean, here in Baltimore, we have the Ravens, and I love the logo, and I love the name. But that's as far as it goes for me. But I've got people around me putting purple lights on their house, and come Sunday, game day, and it may be this way all across the country. I don't know how everybody else feels about this, but come Sunday, you go to the local gas station, there's 15 goddamn people with Ravens jerseys on. Like, let's put on our black tennis shoes and eat pudding. I
mean, Jesus. Yeah.
Something is fucking wrong. Okay, it's like everybody is searching so desperately for something, and Jeremy would say it's the desperate need to be a part of the oneness. And I don't know that I disagree with him on that, but it's all of that. It's Hollywood, and it's the placation of entertainment, the pacification of toys and products, and you realize something's grossly wrong here, and then you wonder, well, there's more. So what's the more? And there had to be a turning point for you, I think, unless you've always been this way and have kind of, like, some people know this early on and try to play along and it just doesn't work. Do you have a decisive moment, or is was it a gradual turn on to you where you're like, something's not right, and you began to question all of these, existential problems?
Well, now that I think about it, I think maybe deep inside I've always known, but I really haven't been open about it until, again, my mid-20s when I realized I couldn't even defend my own, what I thought was my own belief system when I really never believed it all along. It's like, looking back, it's like I've always had that internal turmoil, like asking questions of the pastor when I'd have to go to Sunday school, and he'd be like, Rachel, you don't ask those things, you never question,
Yes.
this and this and this. And I'm like, but why? But that kind of stuff. But I just think it kind of clicked in my mid-20s. It said, this is crap. This isn't, I can't see this being, why we're here. And one of the things is my common statement is, I can't see us being here to be born, to grow up, to work all our lives and be miserable, and then die.
Right.
And, but here's the thing. I can't speak for everyone, but the honest truth is, it's like, for us to work pretty much all our adult lives and not really being able to enjoy and to ever enjoy the beauty of what's on our planet, we have to have money to get there.
Exactly.
So I don't know, like, that's how I kind of think, kind of like there's got to be more than just, being born, living, and then dying, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some people say this is, a lesson. Well, I believe everyone's got lessons, but I'm really starting to believe in, like, past lives. I'm starting to see some pretty neat things that kind of give people proof. I'm not fully there yet, but you could put it past me and be like, you know what? Let's put that under one of Rachel's possibilities of great possibilities. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, ultimately, Rachel, here's the thing. I mean, as with all of this stuff, what you're looking for, as far as, like, if it's validation for you, that's all that matters ultimately, because it's not about everybody else. It's not about you trying to prove anything. Well, and I've
say this. Oh, sorry.
No, okay. Go ahead.
Because I know it's going to dissipate from my brain any minute if I don't say it now. I've come to the point of people that truthfully are my friends and care about me and know me are not going to think I'm nuts. The people that truthfully don't know me are the ones that probably will think I am. And I am fine with that, because the people, again, that truthfully know me and get me will respect why I think the way that I do.
Yeah. Well, and when you share as openly as you do, and I mean, this is the kind of thing that just happens. I mean, you're going to find out, who understands the point that you're coming from, who understands the way that you explain it. And I mean, it's ultimately to your credit to say, I don't want to talk about that yet because I really don't have proof or, a handle on that yet. And that's great to do that. But ultimately, you never have to explain it as long as you get it. And as long as you get to that point where then really that's what more, you're the one that has to live with it. I've said this, the past, I'd say, month. I've taken a shitload of heat over a certain experience. And, on one hand, when I'm insulted, I'm going to get defensive. I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself. But on the other hand, for me to try and validate it for everybody, or to try to give them some kind of, proof that they want, which, hey, if I can get it and it's available, great, I'll go for that. But it's not going to be my, like, ultra point to getting that. It's not going to be the thing that drives me. And ultimately, if people don't buy it or think you're crazy or whatever, that's completely incidental to the bigger picture, which is you. I have to wonder, as far as the voices and all of that stuff goes, and downloads, has the number 33 come up for you at all?
Number 33. No, but I can tell you the number that I keep seeing a lot, which is on the clock, is 1234. And for the longest time, I was saying 1111. And what I got with that is that when I felt things were just stagnant and that nothing was moving, I always saw 11:11 on the clock. Now, this is just, I'm not saying this is really anything legit, but lately I felt things have been moving. And lately, for the past month, every day, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Huh.
So maybe the validation for me, maybe, but
Yeah.
I'm also willing to say not so much. I don't know.
Right. Well, that's
so
happening.
What about 33 for you?
That's kind of been, I would say, the most prevalent one that's come up in at least my experiences, whether it be, when you talk about the voices, I think it must have been before I was 33 years old that my wife and I were laying in our bedroom, and I think I was starting to drift off, and I started hearing a voice, which any number of people would say is hypnopompic hallucination of some sort, auditory, but it was somebody saying the number 33 over and over and over. And as they said it more, I became more aware of it. And as I became more aware of it, it began screaming that number at me in a very loud voice, until the point where I actually was awake with my eyes open, and I flung my feet over the edge of the bed, and then it stopped. And
They're
Lisa
giving
said,
away my age is what they're doing.
yeah, it's like, well, what does that mean? Am I going to die at age 33? Is that what it's telling me? And is that what's going on here? But I've heard a great number of people talking about either absurd interjections of the number 33 into their lives, or dreaming about the number 33. I can't tell you how many times I've had dreams about that number.
I'm going to tell you something bizarre. It's speaking of 33, besides, yes, that's how old I am, but back in May, when all this started coming to fruition for me, I was told by one of my good friends who, again, I do trust. He also does automatic writing, and he did a reading for me one day, just, for the fun of it. And he said, you know what? I don't know why. He goes, but I will tell you with certainty that your 33rd year of life will be one of a lot of movement. And he goes, well, Rachel, just basically, you're going to be super busy.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, busy how? And he's like, I think you're going to get a lot of the answers you're looking for. And I took that as what I was just starting to get into then. And I'm hoping that's right, because it felt right to me. But that's what he told me. So 33, I guess, would be, a big year for me. But I don't know. How do you feel? I always ask people, stop letting your brain take over and start using your heart and see what you get. Whatever the first thought is in your brain, a lot of times it's the correct one. And too many times I've second-guessed myself, and I got myself into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Well, I would say that what happened for me at age 33 was that I started to study occult practices at 33. And I had some pretty weird shit that surrounded that, in the sense that I never really put a lot of stock into occult practices as being indicative of changing one's environment, as it's kind of defined as being. I found out that that's, at least for me, in those experiences, that was very clearly put to me in that, oh, yes, it is. Yes, you can. And yes, this does work. If you follow the age-old practices of what people tell you to do, which is, again, goes back to the whole focus of intention, and through sheer will and through sheer focus, and at times sheer obsession, which, if you listen to this show at all, that seems to be, to me, the most prevalent part of the paranormal, at least for me, is that all of this stuff seems to come down to, or respond to, how much attention is paid to it, or how much you actually believe that this is real. And so there's something about that I think could change the world.
Hello? Anyone?
This is Chris Balzano, and you're listening to Paratopia.
Thank you.
Perfect.
What just happened?
I didn't hear you answer my question, and now she's gone.
I was yelling, hello, hello. Now, how did you come back here?
I don't know.
Because I didn't call you. All right, let me call her back here.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Who?
The guy that did that. You didn't even hear that question?
No, it ended with you talking about changing the world.
Oh, okay.
And then it went
I'm
out.
here.
That was weird.
Okay.
That was weird. Well, going back to the question, it's like, if you have a lot of people that are experiencing...
Well, wait a second. I didn't actually... I'm recording, and I didn't get the question.
Let me just ask this, because there was a guy who did the sigil thing for the DisinfoCon. He did the lecture on the sigils. He was a comic book author. What is his name?
Not Alan Moore, but...
Grant Morrison. I mean, he was really... I watched his thing, and I'm sure a lot of people would put him down to a marginal personality for many reasons. But, you know, what he said was he was talking about essentially sigil magic. He was talking about more or less focus of intent and focusing your intent and then letting it go. And that this shit, as he put it, could change the world. And I don't think he's wrong. There's too much focus, especially these days, on what we don't want to happen. You know, everybody focusing so much attention on, like you said, you hate to watch the news. I haven't watched the news in 16 years. I just don't, because there's nothing for me there.
Agreed.
I mean, I saw 9/11 footage and I turned it off. Okay, it happened. I get it. Past that, no, I'm not going to relive that moment over and over and over the next 48 hours, which is exactly what everybody else did. There's nothing for me there. All that is there is for me to focus on what I don't want to happen. And and ultimately, if we focus on what we do want to happen, and kind of have that that feeling of gratitude and gratefulness for what you do have in life, health and sanity, and all of those things that go with being, then that's what tends to respond with more. And the same, to me, goes for the paranormal. It's more than focus of intent. It's also asking those deep questions, like, what is 33? You know, was that just the age like you that you reach some kind of epiphany about that there's more to life than we've been taught? That is true or untrue. I don't know. I mean, I still don't know what that exactly means, but all I can do is kind of go along my life and say that was the age where I became interested in what does magic mean, you know, and what is it that we can do in terms of that, or what do people believe that can change things so drastically for some people and not others? What is the selective nature of the paranormal? Why do some people desire it their whole lives and never have it? And why are they just confronted with it? And I think for my money, I mean, this probably should have been a question on Project Core. I've met more people like you who have always questioned it, who have always been suspect of it because something just didn't feel right about it. Who then go on to kind of find themselves in a paranormal field or find themselves asking these much, much, much bigger questions. Because you know damn well, when you're going out looking for ghosts, you're not looking for proof of ghosts. You know there's ghosts. There's too much circumstantial stuff, even if you want to call it circumstantial. There's too much of it out there for there not to be something to it. What you're looking for is, I want to know what happens after we die. You know, this is what nobody wants to admit in the paranormal field, but that's what they're looking for. And so, no, go ahead.
Back to the same thing. It's like when I think of paranormal, I think of anything that's above the normal or anything that we don't consider the norm, right? Well, to me, what's really considered normal anymore? That's where I'm at right now. But a lot of people, when you talk about paranormal, the first thing they start relating to again is what? The shows on TV. And I'm like, no, that's not paranormal. Okay. That's a flippin' show on TV that you got to take with a grain of salt. Paranormal to me is everything now, because it's almost like I've been getting this description a lot. One, I will always tell it to Glenn Means, who was a part of MUFON, but he also stepped down. And he always says to me, and Glenn is I would have to say, one of my biggest supporters, because he believes in me and what my purpose is, even though we're still trying to figure out what that is. And he always answers my phone calls or my messages with, "Hey, Oracle, what's going on?" Okay, it's silly, but he's always been a big advocate for me regarding this, because he himself has dealt with a lot of weird stuff. And so he's always like, "So, Rachel, which pill have you decided to take, the blue or the red one?"
Right.
And so, okay, guys, you're going to laugh at me because I don't really always get the movie references. I know it's from The Matrix, but which pill is the one that opened Neo's eyes? Which is the blue one?
The red, yes.
Red? Okay, so I took the red pill, guys. I took the red pill because I want to know what's behind the walls.
Right.
And so paranormal is everything to me now. Life in general is paranormal to me, because nothing is as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just where I have to leave it. And until we get our concrete proof of what we're looking for, that journey is always going to be an individual journey that you have to believe in. But screw the other people that call you crazy. I mean, that's just how you have to kind of start dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing also is, I've been saying this too, and it got tossed back at me today, was a crazy person never calls himself crazy, and I always call myself crazy.
Well, let me ask you about that, because
Okay.
you seem to bring this up a lot, and even in talking to us, sometimes you feel like you're defensive from the word go, like you're ready for us to think the worst, or for people to think the worst.
I know.
Do people do this to you? I mean, do friends and family actually treat you that way, or are you just worried that they're going to?
Both. My family do not know this. And I never suspect they're going to ever listen to these shows. So I'm not worried that someday I have a feeling I will have to tell them truthfully how I feel, but not yet. So my family I'm not too worried about right now. A lot of my friends are very, very supportive. But then you've got those who are like, "Yeah, whatever, Rachel," or they always do the "but what if," or "but don't you really think it's this?" And one of my friends in specific, I won't say, it's a male, but he's so, and when I say grounded, it's not a positive type of ground. It's like something could slap him in the face, and he would still say, it was nothing, but it was this. When clearly it wasn't that.
Oblivious is the word you're looking for, I believe.
Yeah. So if I were to tell them this, they would totally just be like, whatever. I tried to tell a little bit, but when I started going into it a little bit, he already knocked me down. So I already knew this is not a person I can really tell this to. Mm-hmm. Most of my friends that understand me are fine with it, and they're happy for me. So, but yeah, I have some people that are in the paranormal field, if you will, but I'm really like, why are you in the paranormal field when you start doubting everything? So I don't know. So life to me in general is paranormal.
Well, it's interesting. That's interesting too, because Jeff and I were talking about this earlier, that there are people in this who know how to look appropriately. They have eyes to see, as it were. There are people who just simply don't. And usually those people aren't interested at all, but some of them are. Some of them do listen to these types of shows, and then they sort of wonder, like, why isn't this happening to me? Why is this happening to these guys? Or however that shakes out. I wonder, what do you think that component is that's missing in certain people where not just that this phenomena passes them by, or these types of experiences pass them by, but even the ability to grasp them even while they're looking, even while they're listening to these shows, even while they're reading this material. What do you think that is? What do you think's missing from them that they can't get
I don't really think anything's missing. And this is, again, another one of Rachel's philosophies is that if you already believe in this stuff, it's almost like you really don't need the proof. So the stuff can be happening in front of you all the time, but you don't really notice it because you're used to seeing it. the people that are the ones that need to be shaken up and, I guess, open their eyes are the ones that always doubt and don't believe anything greater than themselves. Then when something phenomenal happens, it catches their attention even more so, because it was like, hello, wake up, we're here. But then someone who is always like, I would be that person. Why don't I ever see anything? Why is nothing visual for me or whatever? Well, why would I really need to prove when I already know it's there? Mm-hmm. I don't mean that's how I kind of try to fathom it. I don't think there's any pieces missing. I also believe different people are capable of, call it gifts or, I guess, different capabilities, basically. Like, you have some people that can, let's say, read tarot cards. You have some people that hear voices. You have some people that do automatic writing. I mean, you have the person that nothing seems to happen. But what about, is there something that's actually making them hesitant to want to receive any kind of confirmation? I've also been told that's a possibility, that people might say they want something to happen, but they're so hesitant and they're so scared. It's like they're almost covering their eyes, but not on purpose.
Well, I think you sort of said something in there, which is there are certain people who can't see beyond themselves. And I really think that's a huge problem. I think there is an element of know thyself that sort of goes hand in hand in this. And if you are the type of person who is not capable of self-reflection, or having any sort of private conversation with yourself about yourself, then how can you open up to this? I don't think it's really possible. And so for someone like that, maybe you try to reduce this into the little box of your understanding, and I don't think that works too well.
Well, I say this, if you're so caught up in yourself that you're not willing to open your eyes, then I feel bad for them, because I don't look at, I know I've heard some people say they feel negative, something coming. Please don't ask me what I think it is. I don't know, but I don't feel negative. I feel almost like a positive change. And I'm also the person that I don't view the cup as half empty. I view it as half full. I've always tried to take on an optimistic approach because, one, I don't want to be the downer for everybody else. Two, I just don't like being a downer. So I try to take a very optimistic approach to a lot of things, but I feel it's a positive change, only for the better. Like, of course, you'll have your downs, like where it gets worse, you hit rock bottom first before you start rising. But I feel like whatever it is, whenever it happens, it's a positive change for everybody. That's just how I feel internally. So I say bring it, whatever it is.
Right. Well, I think you're, in a way, I won't say you're unique in your position, but I think you're certainly rare in your position, which is that you're just fine with having an emotion about this, having a feeling about what's going on without having anything concrete there. I mean, even the people who believe in wacky, far-out ideas about what this is or about, quote-unquote, what's coming, have an idea. And the reason that they have an idea is based on fear. And I think this gets into really your whole backstory. It seems that you were raised in this fundamental Christian way. And when you look at religion, what are the major components of religion? It's thought and it's feeling, right? I mean, so you've got the thought, which is all of the politics and all of the, commandments and religious aspect of it. But that's like masking over the thing that's underneath, the love, the compassion, the other parts of us that are really, truly us. But I think the thought aspects of those, the sort of, the thing that reduces everything into black and white, this and that, I think those are fear-based, I think those are the part that sort of conceal our fear that we don't know what the hell is going on. So I think when you stray from that, or when you went away from that into the paranormal, if you're the type of person who wants to help people, and you've got this deeper feeling that something in that is real, something in that religion or that religious experience is real, it's just not being represented by the church, I can totally see, like, your path is so clear. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like, oh, yeah, of course you would then rebel against the paranormal world, because what you're looking for there, what you're finding there is the same sort of element that you found in the religion, which is people who want to take this sort of mystical question, what is life, what is death, what happens after death, and narrow it down into these material processes. We can record this thing, we can help you, yada, yada, we can define this. And then you can't. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't, and it's not fulfilling. So it seems like your search has always been this, I don't know, I don't want to say search for inner fulfillment, but maybe a search for inner fulfillment, but with the caveat that you're never going to find it in thought. You're never going to find that definition. You know what I mean? Because there's not going to be something that you're going to cling on to and go, yeah, that's it, and then live from there, because it's not going to be satisfying. It's always going to end up in rules and regulations and definitions that ultimately don't describe the thing that you're feeling, the thing that makes you you. It's not going to describe that.
I would say the biggest sigh of relief I ever had is the day I finally said, I'm not considered anything right now. I call myself a spiritualist, because that's what I feel like I am, because I'm trying to search for answers. But the minute I broke away from a religion-based box, if you will, I felt a sigh of relief. I felt free. And this is the other thing. Now, I'm going to keep saying this. There's a gentleman that reminded me. He says, even though myself am not a part of any religion anymore for various reasons, you cannot forget the positive that came out of it. And I have to remember those words. And the positive, again, is the love and then respect for others. Some people follow a good version of Christianity, if you will, and others take it to an extreme where, they'll be the first to say you're going to burn in hell. But when I thought I believed in that stuff that I was brought up to believe, I never felt happy. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I always felt like I'm not good enough for God. I'm not good enough because I'm not going to church or putting this much money in the money plate that comes around, or I don't know the Bible for every single verse in the Bible, so therefore I must be a bad Christian. I always felt like I never was good enough. And when I let go and finally realized, like, you know what? I'm not saying God is this pansy that's like, oh, I love you all, the fluffy bunnies and the little lambs. No, but I also don't believe in the fire and brimstone God either. I feel like whatever God is, I think he's got a very fine balance of compassion, but yet authority, where he's like, no bullshit. But I love all that I've made, or whatever it be. And when I finally let go of that religion box, I felt like, you know what? I'm me. I don't hurt people. And if I hurt people, I regret it and I try to fix it. But the truth is, guys, I don't hurt people often. And if I do, it's definitely not on purpose. And if I find out that I've hurt somebody, I'll try to fix it and talk it out to them to let them know, okay, maybe it was a misunderstanding, or I'm so sorry, I didn't know this affected you. But I always tell people, if you are a person and you do everything in your life to be the best that you can be, how is that not good enough?
Well, this brings us full circle to the original thing that you had mentioned, which is sort of burning off your karma points by having a conversation with someone who you think feels you wronged them in the past, and you want to have that conversation with them. Do you feel that you're going to do that to move on? I mean, is this the way you chew out of your cocoon and become a butterfly into the next stage of whatever it is you're becoming?
No, I just know it's the first step I need to take, period, because it's been eating at me. And the honest truth is, they might not even care. They might not realize it's really been bothering me. But the way it went down, it really wasn't nice, and I never got a chance to justify what happened. And I don't know if they're going to listen to this. If they do, great. So they know that, it's been on my mind. It's bothered me. And I consider them, a very good friend. And I mean, maybe they didn't realize how good of a friend they were to me. And so it just basically was, I promised I was going to do my best to keep people on track. because when we get our group together, we have a tendency to goof off more than, sometimes focusing on things we should. I'm not talking about when we were on investigations, of course, but I sent out an email as like a precursor to doing that. And I've reread the email I sent out over and over and over again, and I'm still not seeing how it was interpreted the way it was, but it was interpreted that way, and that's what I need to fix. And so I felt like that maybe they thought that I had betrayed them when I never did. I was always on the same page as them. And it's bothered me. And honestly, what I keep saying, it might not be a big deal to them, but it's a big deal to me. So to me, if it's helping me break out of my cocoon, I feel like I already have one wing out, but not for that. But it was like the signs again when people said, hey, guess what? I talked to so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, that's great. They're like, oh, we also, I mentioned you. I'm like, why? And we did have Deb and I had a conversation. And, of course, I told her that I felt bad about how certain things were panning out or how they had panned out. But I didn't think she was going to take it upon herself to go ahead and text the person. And so I thought, okay, well, thank you, Deb. You did great. But I wasn't thinking you were going to take it upon yourself to do that for me. So I almost felt like I need to wait again so it doesn't look like I put them up to it, if that makes sense. So I almost feel like I'm going to give it another week. Otherwise, they would have heard from me already. So I don't know.
So how do you think that all of this going on, I mean, stepping back for a second and looking at how it's impacted your life, both in work and home life and all of that, I mean, has it been overly beneficial to you to go on this quest of this, or has it been somewhat debilitating to certain aspects of your life?
I can't really say anything's been debilitating. I always feel like there's not been any setbacks with it. I've only felt like I move forward, but then it's the waiting game. Like I feel that stagnant, like nothing's moving ahead, and that's what kills me the most because I am one of the most impatient people. And one of my lessons is patience, 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 patience. And so I'm like, I'm being patient. So then stuff moves ahead. I get excited. And then, knowing Rachel Weinrich, I'm like, oh my God, I just need more information. And then I'm like, why is it not coming? And then I get bummed out. And then patience, 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 patience. So
Right.
The honest truth is it's been very good for me because I'm not letting anybody else mold me. No one can give me a mold and fit me to that mold. I am my own person. And I think in that self, it's been a very valuable lesson.
This is just something that I've got to ask because this is something that I noticed, at least about me, over the past X amount of years. Well, I'll put it to you this way. In my 20s and probably early 30s, I felt like if I looked at somebody and I talked with them and I became friends with them, that I knew them. And as I kind of got older, for me, within the past couple of years, there's kind of been this fundamental change in the way that I perceive other people. Mm-hmm. In that everybody seems easy to understand in a certain way. In the direction of how they come off or how they explain themselves or how they argue or how they describe something, like you can really get a genuine feel, or at least I feel like I can get a genuine feel for how that person really is and where they're really coming from. It's almost like some kind of uncommunicative communication that I don't know. It's almost like we've talked on this show about masks that people wear. You've got one you wear to work. You've got one for your husband. You got one for your wife. You got one for your kids and all of that. And it's almost like as time goes on, I feel like I'm almost able to look at somebody and interact with them. And it's almost like I can see you in there, but you've got this facade in front of you that's fake, I guess, is the way it is. But there's something in there that you can tell that is so much more, that's so deeper, is so infinitely more complex. Now, is that something that you've noticed always, or am I just crazy?
Oh, no. because remember, crazy people don't call themselves crazy, or
Right.
people that aren't crazy always call themselves crazy. But no, I don't think it's crazy at all. I mean, if I look back, I still don't believe I ever was a baby, but I can't recall being young. But to me, growing up, everybody was a friend till you hurt me, right? So, and then when you get older, I of course would try to hold on to friendships that really should have been let go a long time ago. And so that was another lesson I've learned. And then the other thing I've also learned is, people come and go for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people come into your life, and once that their, I guess I keep saying purpose, but once their purpose for you and even for them is done, they move on. And if you keep trying to extend that friendship, it sometimes can turn sour.
Yeah.
Then, like even now, friends that I made maybe when I first got into the field, they were great, but then after a while, you started seeing through their facade, their mask, and then you're like, you're not really the person I thought you were. So basically, I removed myself from them.
Mm-hmm.
So no, you're not crazy, because it sounds almost selfish, but you get what you can out of people in the sense of, how it's going to help you and them, right? Or whatever the reason is you guys are brought into each other's presence at that time. You take it for what it's worth, keep the positive and throw out the negative. And sometimes when you come to really negative people, like you can see through their mask right away, because they're almost like, hey, here's my mask. Oh, but look, I'm the ugly duckling underneath the mask. It makes you stronger in a very strange sense, kind of like it almost heightens your senses, so you're more aware of the type of people that you interact with on a daily basis.
How has MRIPA been with this as a whole?
I don't think I can answer that as a whole. I can only probably answer that individually. I know it sounds bizarre to say it that way, because we have so many
it's not.
types of personalities within our group itself that I'm still trying to figure out some of my own teammates. Even though I feel they're all good people, some I still can't put a grasp on them.
Okay. Well, I mean, you've stepped down out of any kind of managerial role in the group. I mean, was that a shock to a lot of people that you did? I mean, was it like, oh my God, Rachel, are you serious? Was it like that, or was it?
No, but I have a feeling that's what they were sensing. Like, they were all saying congratulations, Deb, but my response to them would be, good luck with your journey, Rachel. And I don't know if they were saying, okay, cuckoo, but I keep saying that. But, it's just like sometimes there's an underlying feel. But again, a lot of them know me, and so they're very respectful of my decision. And they're like, do what you need to do to find the answers you need. And that's all I need from them is just, just let me be me. And I'm not ashamed to step down. I mean, I do not look at it as I don't want to do any work, because when you look at it, guys, I was doing case management, and if case referrals came in, I would do my work, contact the people. A lot of times, a lot of it was just flawed. It was people that you try to do the best to help them, but they either take advantage of it, or two, you investigate for them, but they want more. Three, it never pans out. So we had a lot of investigation requests, but they never panned out. I also did the white crow. And that was a lot of time. So when I got off my job, the first thing I would do is work on MRIPA stuff. And I never had a lot of Rachel time, if you will. So that became a little overbearing for me, but it wasn't just because of that. It's because finally I said, you know what? I don't get time to focus on what's really important to me. So I need to do this. And that's why I came home one day, and I can tell you what actually stemmed my decision, as silly as it sounds. If you truthfully believe in empathic people, then I am definitely an empathic person. I can tell when people walk in the room if they've had a bad day, but the only downfall for it to me is that I can't distinguish between if they're just upset or if they're upset at me. So it's always channeled as if they're upset at me, and it puts me on edge. I don't like that factor, but if they're happy, I exacerbate the person's happiness tenfold. And Jason had received an email from a guy just saying, I really need help. I need some answers. Can you please call me? So the first thing he does is he just forwards the email to me. So I had some downtime at work, so I called the gentleman. And I have never gotten the most ugliest, bizarre feel from anybody that it ate at me when I hung up the phone with this guy. And it ended with me saying, you know what? Because he says, you know what? I don't understand this. I'll just say bull, crap. But he said the other word. And he was like, this is bull crap. I'm just going to hang up on the phone. I shouldn't have called you because what do you know? You would never understand. I'm thinking, oh, well, yeah, I do. But then he says, I'm just going to go back to drinking. And I found myself getting almost upset. But I said, that's fine because drinking always solves everything. And then he hung up the phone on me. I hung up the phone and started bawling. And it wasn't because I was sad for him. I was mad. I was mad. And whatever had happened was that he says he got these messages. This wasn't even an investigation request. It was he got these messages. He goes, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know where I'm getting these answers. This is stuff that I shouldn't even know about. And he said he was writing stuff about how the dinosaurs died, how the world is going to end. And he was saying, there's nothing out there but life. Life is all that there is. And I'm like, okay, trying to understand. But this is where I start learning and paying attention to my own personal feelings. I felt like something was wrong. But here's where you have to learn is what right do I have to say I think you're wrong? But he told me when I tried to tell him a little bit about what I'd gone through, he told me, no, whatever is talking to me, you're wrong. And I said, okay then. I said, well, okay, so you have the right to disagree. You have the right to disagree. I said, I'm not telling you you're wrong because I honestly can't tell you that you're wrong because I don't know. But I really would appreciate if you would just listen to me without, making judgments on what I feel. I said, this is all a learning process. And he goes, well, that's why there's all this mass confusion in the world, because everyone's got to have their own opinion. And finally I said, sir, why did you really contact us then?
Right. That's what I was just going to ask. Yeah.
After getting belligerent and irate on the phone, when all I'm doing is sharing information and helping you not to feel like you're crazy.
Right.
Those are the type of people that it's kind of like something was completely off, and whatever it was affected me fully. I have never gone off the phone and just cried because of somebody else like that. And I finally said, I don't need this. I don't need this because the honest truth is I can help people, but I can help people in a completely different way. And it's not going to be through being the case manager for MRIPA.
Right. But you don't know yet where this is all leading you.
No, I don't. And that's just, I think the patience part comes into play again. Maybe the answers come to me the day that I die. I have no idea. But I'm not scared, and I'm excited. And again, in one of the conversations that Stonewall and I had is, this is going to sound so morbid, guys. I can't believe I'm saying this, but death is really not scary to me. It really isn't. It was when I was, in my little religion box, because I'm like, oh crap, I really hope that I've earned enough good points to go to heaven. But I have not gone to church many times, right. So obviously I'm failing at that in my attendance record here. But now that I don't have that, and I look back at how I really am, I'm not scared.
Do you need a destination for this? Like when Jeff says, where do you think it's going? Does it need to go anywhere?
I want to go to Greece. No, I have no really calling. But honestly, I'm called everywhere, guys. Like, I want to go to the Mayan ruins.
No. I don't even mean that way. I mean, just like when Jeff asks you, where do you think that this is going? And you say, I don't know. Does it need to go anywhere? Does there need to be an ending to this story? Or are you the story? Is it just always unfolding? I mean, do you get the sense that there's a destination you're going to reach and you're going to go, that's what this was all about?
I wish I could. I want to say yes, because I feel strongly that I'm going to get some kind of validation someday that what I've been, doing will actually have something that will come to fruition. But the honest truth is, will I get bummed if nothing happens? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I won't be disappointed with how I feel in the end. I'm always up. I will always say, please give me validation, because that makes my day better.
Mm.
But I guess when something happens when you don't expect it, that's even better.
But when you
for
say
me.
validation, you mean validation for you.
Sure. I mean, what I mean, validation for what I've been experiencing, but if other people get validation, I hope they get it too. But again, it's almost like you can take on everybody else's personal journey, but maybe their journey is not really for you.
Right. Yeah. Well,
so like you're 33, the voices you hear, okay, let's say we were in the same room when that happened, and I didn't hear anything, and I get flustered because I didn't hear the voices either, and I feel I didn't hear the voices, but you were getting all these messages.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't for me.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, that goes through all of this stuff. I mean, that goes through the ghost stuff, the UFO stuff. There's always this targeted, very personal subjectivity that goes through all of that, and in what people experience standing right next to each other. I mean, that's happened. I mean, that's pretty known. I mean, for me, I see, I've been worthless in this interview because I can totally get my head around visually what you're talking about, but I can't verbalize a damn thing to you about what you're saying to me is all resonating to me. But it's so goddamn hard to for me to verbalize any sort of question that's going to mean anything. If you get what I mean.
I get that. Absolutely.
And I'm having this more and more, even when it comes to paranormal questions, because, and it's not because I think I know anything, because in fact, I probably know less than I ever have, or just minuscule amounts for all these years of work that I put into this. But I mean, when the whole paranormal / UFO thing got basically turned upside down for me, and I began to see multiple phenomena at different places that shouldn't be there, and there's no rhyme or reason for why you see certain things, and then you start getting into all of these places where the paranormal doesn't want to go. You mentioned about, or I think Jeremy mentioned about, getting into the paranormal. I've always kind of assumed, just because I've tried so hard not to delude myself about experiences. I've tried not to delude myself about the research that you read that people do, but it's hard because you do want to answer. You do want it to have some kind of nice, neat little box with a bow on top that you can go, there it is. And when it never comes, of course, people become desperate to try and find an answer for it, which lends to the charlatans and the fakes and the frauds and all that. But I think anybody who really thinks about this in a really honest way, that can't sit around and tell themselves a story to make themselves feel better, knows that the paranormal in general exists largely as an article of faith for people. That, like it or not, this is what it is. I've had a lot of experiences through my life, and I got, next to nothing to show for it. In the way of proof to take to somebody and go, look at this, I can't do that. And so then you start asking these questions that I think the vast amount of people in the paranormal don't want to start pondering, because, well, where does that end? Where do I go with that? There's no place to go with that.
Well, there is 3 things I've come to a conclusion. 1, to really ever get noticed, I have to wear my Alice in Wonderland costume. 2, I'm just playing around. Then there's the I'm just thinking of, you all have to have a gimmick, right? So to really get noticed and seen and to get followers, I have to wear Alice in Wonderland costume. I've got the dress, the shoes, and the hair.
Are you wearing it now?
No, sir, I am not.
Oh.
2.
You will next time you're on this
PJ
program.
Well, it's all on Facebook. Take a look. The other thing is, I relate that to a couple things. When I talk, I've been asked to do a lot of presentations for a pain management group that my boss acts like it's okay, but I think she's like, well, why aren't you choosing, the other coaches? And I'll go into that here in a minute. But we talk about there's 5 dimensions of wellness. And you've got like your spirit, you've got your physical, which is of course your basic, which is what I do with my job right now, which is exercise and nutrition. Then you got your social, you got your mental, you got, I'm going to totally blow it here, something, and then you got your spiritual wellness. And at the bottom, it says nothing about religions, but it's all about spiritual wellness is when people feel like they actually have a sense of purpose, like a sense to having a real purpose in their life. And that totally makes sense, because if you feel like there's no worth for you to even be alive, I mean, what kind of existence is that? Everybody wants to feel like there's something special. So if you don't feel special, that you're just like this drone walking on Earth, born, living, getting old and dying, then there's really a lot of people like there's no point of me even just existing. So there's that aspect that I feel very to be important. And then the other thing is like, okay, so here you have 3 coaches in my job, me being one of them. I am my boss's least favorite person. Why? Because I speak my mind. I don't take her bull crap. 2, I don't kiss her ass. And 3, you got me, who's got a master's degree in health promotion and wellness, doing a lifestyle wellness coach position. And you got 2 other coaches, one who doesn't even have a degree whatsoever, and then one who's got her social work degree. And my boss is always putting the one who's got the social work degree as the expert, because she has a certified personal fitness trainer behind her name now, like my boss does. So there's a lot of favoritism. And when I go to work, I feel like I'm really worthless. I don't feel like she even gives me, a reason to even come into work. But my patients, the ones I actually feel like I am helpful, they give me the satisfaction of, okay, this job isn't so bad because of them. But if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be there. But I wanted to find work elsewhere. I'm so burnt out because I feel useless. It sucks.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me feel like, yeah, the universe is definitely looking out for people in its own silly way. I've not applied to any jobs because I'm not just going to take any old job that comes along. Because, one, I know within like 2 weeks of me being at the new job, I'm going to want out. I want to find something that I'm going to be happy with and stay with for a long time. So, all of the blue, through LinkedIn, that website, which I don't go on hardly ever, right. I got an email from a lady today asking if I would be interested in having an interview for a wellness coordinator position for a physical therapy unit that's going to be run at Eli Lilly.
Ah.
And I have an interview with her next week. I didn't apply to this job. She found me. So that kind of little stuff, even though it has really nothing to do with the spiritual, or maybe it really does.
How much have you been wanting that?
A lot.
Okay, then.
Okay, so it's just like those little things that happen make me realize, something definitely is working behind the scenes.
Mm.
So it's just kind of like, or maybe is it pure luck? I don't believe in luck, guys. So it just kind of, those little things, and what I want people to look at this as is that those little things kind of keep making life worth living. Like, you're not really alone.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you agree that life is life, I say life, in the sense that the way the world is right now is not exactly conducive to making time to work on you. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And for me, everything is just in the way. Like literally, everything is just in my way, because all I want to do is create more and more and more and more. And I do that at work, but like you, I am reaching my breaking point with my work to the point where I'm taking next week off and I don't give a good damn what happens while I'm not there, because I am the only one in my office that does what I do. And so effectively the advertising department screeches to a halt when I leave. That's why I haven't had a vacation in 5 years. But I'm quickly reaching this point of, like you said, burnout. I mean, such burnout, to me, I've not felt in my entire life as bad as I do right now. And hopefully during this week, I'm gonna savor every hour that I have to just create, to write music, and to do all of that, because that's where I'm at. And I think this whole search for something more out of that, like I feel like I've got something here that I'm not using as well as I should be. I think I felt the most gratified out of work that I had done was when we did the first Paratopia magazine. Like when I got that done and I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, that's it, because no one told me this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm looking to get, or this is how I want it to look. It's like when you think of all that in a ball of wax, it's like the world is not conducive to you doing what you want to do that makes you happy, but ultimately that's the thing that's going to fulfill you as a person. And unfortunately our society just isn't set up that way. That's what I think, that I feel is coming. Everybody talks about something's coming, and some people say it's 2012, and some people say it's a mass landing, and other people say it's a Mayan prophecy where the center of the universe is going to come unhinged from us. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that we are all, I think we've all got some kind of ontological fever that is sensing that our society is going to radically change.
I always feel like a big awakening, and when I say awakening,
Yes.
it's like, no, as silly as it sounds, like maybe all of those feelings are correct, but to me, even if you take a mass landing, is it called the Agarthians or whatever that live in the center of the
Right.
world or whatever it be,
Right.
but let's say all that stuff happens, wouldn't that be like an awakening, especially for those that have been so closed-minded?
Yeah, it probably would be, but I tend to think all of that, the physicality of all of that, would be big news for a month or more, and then we go right back into what we are. When I think of awakening, or I've told Jeremy about this a lot. I have a recurring dream of walking down a city street, and I think I'm on some points I see people carrying groceries, and other people are skateboarding, and there's people riding bikes and driving cars, and all of a sudden everything just stops. And I look around, and we've all reached this point where we're like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, this is not it. Like, what is going on? Why are we going to work every day to get this paper that enabled us to eat? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, all of a sudden, everybody comes to this genuine realization that this is not what we're supposed to be doing. And then all of a sudden it's about everybody following a passion and then sharing that passion with other people that then makes the world go round, as they say. I mean, to me, that's what that fundamentally means. And everybody's got something. I mean, I know there's people out there, well, I'm not really that good at anything. That is simply not true. Every single person on this planet has something. A talent, an ability, a passion, a love for something. And, and it may mean that we're all sitting around doing latch hook kits. I don't know. But that's often the dream that I have over and over and over.
That you're doing latch hook kits?
I mean, who knows? I think that's what's coming. And I don't know if it's going to be as instantaneous as that, or whether it's going to be, something akin, but times a million as to what happened in the 60s, where people just said, I will sit. And that's it. I will sit. You know,
Well,
I refuse to play this game anymore.
our lives have its own mask.
Right. Right.
So no, I get it. It's okay. I don't know. Like again, I feel like when I say an enlightenment, I feel like there's going to be a removal from people being so self-absorbed to maybe growing to be more compassionate towards others. I don't know, but something is going to shift, and I'll just call it a shift of some sort. What it is, I'm not going to say. 2012, I don't think it's like going to happen like that. There's something about this year, have it be the Mayan calendar, which obviously I still feel is a cycle. So when December 21st, 2012 is done over, December 22nd, 2012 will just be right around the corner, just as every calendar year. But it's the start of a cycle. And I keep going back to the song of Age of Aquarius. We're going into the Age of Aquarius, right? So, and it's all about, you know, compassion towards fellow man and enlightenment and things like that. So who knows? Maybe there's something to that, but there's definitely going to be a shift of something, and maybe that's what we're feeling. And so that's why the shift to me, yes, we might have our natural disasters that occur because, you know, we're talking about all the planets aligning, yada, yada, yada. Okay, it happens. It happens. So I'm not even worried too much about, like, the natural stuff that's going to happen because it's natural. So it's going to happen. But there's something
Yeah, but tell that to Haiti.
What was that?
I said tell that to Haiti.
I know. Please don't, whoever's listening from Haiti, don't take it like nonchalantly, but I'm just saying it happens. But I do remember telling one of my friends that when we were talking about life outside of the planet, and this was just a conversation, and we were going into, you know, how, again, it was a religion conversation that turned into talking about life outside the planet. And I was saying, so what do you believe? And they were talking about, you know, like mathematical equations. So if you have this mathematical equation with this, multiply blah, 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 blah. You know, he was talking like a science guy. He said the probability. I said, no. Erase that. Erase all the math you gave me. Don't even use your brain. What do you feel in here? And I pointed to my heart. And their response was, then yes, I exist. And or yes, they exist. And I'm like, that's all you need to do. And it's kind of like, I think just with all the information we get all the time, we're bombarded with bull crap, the news, the bad stuff on the news, the good stuff on the news that really isn't so good. And then you've got the crap on TV with the shows, and you've got the crap you deal with when you have to go to work every day, getting mad at people that cut you off in traffic. I mean, you're always bombarded with all this activity that you really don't take the time to just listen. And sometimes that listening is where some of the answers lie.
Is that a good place to leave it or not?
Do I sound like a guru yet? Do I pass into like the Buddhist temple now?
Well, I do have one more question.
Imagine me going bald and wearing this teal little robe, you know, kneeling and, you know, I don't know. Just give me like lilac flowered incense, please. That's all I ask.
Yeah, you have to shave your head for that, you know.
I don't want to do that though, guys, because right now my blonde hair is brown and I like it, but believe me, I'll probably go back to blonde. I could never go bald though. I would have to probably wear like one of those plastic bald caps so it looks like I'm bald.
Well, that's acceptable.
Okay. Knee highs?
With little black bows?
No, I'm just saying with the Alice costume. Knee highs?
It's Alice in Wonderland.
You're a very sick man, you know.
Anyway, I guess that should conclude the episode of Paratopia.
Oh, goodness.
Rachel, thank you for hanging out with us for the full almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
My God. And when next we see massive disruption in your life, we'll call you back for episode 4 to check back up on you.
Don't call it destruction.
Now what's going on, Rachel? I've changed my first name. I've written slave on my face, and I've changed my name to a symbol.
I'm bald now, gentlemen, and I tattooed. Oh my God, no.
But it's okay, Rachel.
It's okay. In the Himalayas. What? Okay. The next question will be, now that I'm bald, what tattoo should I have tattooed to my head?
Hair, ironically.
And no, gentlemen, And no, gentlemen, I won't be tattooing your names on my head.
Not a nice big Paratopia eye right up there, the third eye?
Maybe that, because that could be considered spiritual. So yes, I can do the Paratopia eye.
I'll take it.
We'll give you a free month subscription if you do that, by the way.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a $4.50 right there. I mean, totally worth it. Well,
already got that. So
thank you again. It's been
welcome, guys.
Lovely getting updated, and again, seriously, come back when next, whatever next happens, or at least let us know if it turns out, especially that there's some location on the planet that you feel you need to be, because obviously that holds great interest to me. I find it fascinating that there are people who are starting to feel this for whatever reason.
It's not so much a draw for me. It's more of I just want to go somewhere like the places I listed.
Right.
That are warmer than what we're dealing with now.
Okay, well, that's shallow. So don't update us with that.
Guys, I enjoy so much being in your show. I always enjoy it. So, anytime you want me on just for whatever, I will be there.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too.